everybody, this is the Mrs. Volfie from our half-acre homestead. Today when Cat's Cradle shared an update on some articles that we've been following, the results were encouraging. The man in Florida who was ordered to dig up his vegetable garden because it was in his front yard, for one, the mayor was inundated with email and mail from around the globe, and the man is not only allowed to keep his garden, but they're talking of revamping the bylaws. Yay! And so you're right, Cats, the times they are a-changin'. Our governments have gotten so huge that half the time they don't know what's going on in their own backyards. Let's face it, when you're dealing with millions of people of different cultures, backgrounds, religions, and traditions, you can't please everybody. Couple that with the fact that there is constant involvement with other countries around the globe, who has really time to worry about bylaws and codes on a local level? Even small-town mayors are trying to keep up with the ever-changing political climate in the higher levels of government. But this article is a wonderful example of what can happen when we decide to get involved. We are way past the point in history when governments can do anything for the individual, unless we involve ourselves. Let's face it, folks, there's so many rules, regulations, bylaws, town codes, and laws that revamping them to keep up with the times and the changing needs of the people becomes almost impossible. It is only when people step forward en masse and say, hey, this is not right, that the aging and decrepit bylaw and code systems are even looked at. Most times a ticket is issued or a violation letter is written and we don't even blink, we just comply. But it has become increasingly apparent to most of us that if we want things to change, we have to step forward and say, hey, this is not right. If the government does not want the responsibility of feeding and sheltering the masses, and maybe they do, but they had better start revamping a lot of these petty bylaws and codes that are no longer practical in this day and age. If you have a backyard that, bigger than 20 by 20, you should be able to have a little hen house to keep your family in eggs, and a vegetable garden anywhere on your property, rental or otherwise, to provide your family with healthy food alternatives. Rabbit hutches are easy to build and compact and easy to maintain in an urban setting. 2 rabbits, a male and a female, can provide a family with 10 to 20 rabbits for their freezer in one summer. But the bylaws and town codes are not going to change themselves. It is time that we step forward and get more involved in our laws and town codes on a local level. If properly managed and allowed to have 3 laying hens, 2 breeding rabbits, and a good garden and compost waste management plan, most urban families can cut their dependency on the agricultural industry by a minimum of 30%. That means if you spend $400 a month on groceries, you're not only saving $120, you're giving your family a healthy alternative to industrial farm food products, or byproducts, or food-like products. But it doesn't stop there. No siree, Bob. You now have a system in place that improves your family's health, lessening the dependence on the healthcare system. You give your family a common ground for internal involvement as a family. You're teaching your children where food comes from. You're planting the seeds of independence, of hope, and showing them where anyone else, or showing them and anyone else who cares to look, that we have choices. So folks, if you're listening, step up. Get involved. Tell your local governments, untie our hands. Revamp the bylaws, statutes, and codes. Give incentives, for example. Prove that you can properly manage a micro-farm in an urban environment and you will get a tax benefit at the end of the year. Like the old adage says, give a man a fish and he will eat for a day. Teach a man to fish and he will eat for a lifetime. Allow a family to have an urban micro-farm and the possibilities are endless. This is the Mrs. Volfie from our half-acre homestead saying, hope and fear are 2 emotions that cannot live in the same heart simultaneously. Remember, if you don't stand for something, you're likely to fall for anything. Take care.